This is Free Speech News, and it is April 18th, 2021. And I want to get into some disturbing news as we have Joe Biden and the Biden administration reversing Trump's policy of research with aborted fetal tissue and body parts. This is an issue that was brought to light back in 2015 when undercover video exposed Planned Parenthood for selling baby organs for years. And they were selling them at a hefty price. And if you've never seen the undercover video, I suggest you look it up. It's quite disturbing, honestly. And with this Biden administration reversal, this brings back intramural research that requires new acquisition of human fetal tissue from abortions. I mean, this is just unbelievable. What type of research is going on that we need this? What type of research is so important that this policy needs to be in effect? It is disgusting, honestly. And just like when it was exposed, there is a lot of incentive to make sure that they have the tissue that they need, because there is a lot of money involved. A lot of money. This is the Biden administration. This is Biden's America. I mean, they don't need to do this kind of research. And they don't explain too much to what exactly they are doing. And it's just sickening, and it is back due directly to the Biden administration policies, and just one of many. And speaking of the Biden administration, we have, during a visit with the Japanese Prime Minister Biden, speaking, and when he was visiting the White House, he was speaking at a presser, and he says that every day there is a mass shooting in the United States, and it's a national embarrassment, and it must come to an end. And obviously, I guess that means taking away our guns, because these mass shooters, they won't be able to find a gun illegally and carry out the same act. Doesn't matter whether you make magazine or gun laws. If these people want to carry out a mass shooting, they will find a way to do it. And one of those ways to do it is to acquire a gun illegally, which they would be able to do. It's not as hard as people think. And not only that, I want to point out, which is kind of weird, and there is no coincidences. Ever since Biden took office, there has been a lot of mass shootings. Why have these mass shootings picked up in such a short time? And I believe there was another one today, and the suspect is still as large as I'm speaking right now. And this raises a lot of questions as to why these have picked up. Because as I remember in the Trump administration and towards the end, there wasn't really any mass shootings. And it has nothing to do with guns. And it's a society thing. It's a parenting thing. It is a lot of factors that come into play, like mental health, that needs more attention and needs to be more at the forefront, because these people carrying out these mass shootings almost all of them have mental health issues, obviously. But we know the radical left, they want to use these situations to try to kill our Second Amendment, to try to kill the Constitution as a whole. But we, the people, we cannot let this happen. We cannot let this happen. And speaking of guns and gun control, we have Chicago riots after the shooting of a 13-year-old, which I'm sure we already know about the story. We all know. And we have Mayor No-Show when it comes to every other shooting in Chicago. The shootings and killings that happen almost every single day between the gangs. And when Crossfire kills people and kills kids, and it just happened not that long ago, I don't see her coming out and condemning the gangs like she does with this situation. And of course, it's a racial situation because of the people's skin color. And only then does she come out and make a big issue. You know, when it's a white police officer and a black victim, you know, it's different then. This mayor has no clue what she is doing. And only when it can serve some sort of political benefit for her, then and only then does she come out and speak about it. The violence that is going on in her city, she really has no room to talk. She needs to get control of her city. I mean, it's an active war zone in Chicago. There is so many shootings daily, almost daily. You have, at one point, 50 shootings in a weekend. I mean, it's just insane. There is a reason they call it Chirac. And more people, I mean, nobody says anything about this, about how bad Chicago is. They don't try to do anything about it. And it's worse than anything. It's unbelievable. And then today, as we know, the swamp runs deep, as the saying goes. As breaking news, newly released documents in the Ghislaine Maxwell case show that the Department of Justice knew for years in advance about Epstein and Maxwell and their sick ways, and even wrote about it with their notes. And even wrote as young as 12, but the younger the better. So they knew what was going on with Epstein. And if you want to read these notes, I'll put a link in the description. They're pretty interesting, I must say. But per this Gateway Pundit report here, back in 2007, Epstein got one hell of a deal for the crimes with a minor. And now notes from way back in 2016 show that the FBI knew what was going on. And even in the notes that Epstein could be prosecuted somewhere else rather than New York. And I'll explain that in a minute. What else does these documents show? It shows and it reveals how much the authorities did in fact know and how sick Epstein and Maxwell really were and how their operation was. Right on the first page, it says in the notes that there were 24 girls molested by Jeffrey Epstein. Absolutely sickening. Sickening. And this was way back in Florida in 2005 when he got that sweet deal of a lifetime that pretty much, I'm sure of it, no other citizen would have got. No other citizen. And he got, I think it was like soliciting with a minor for prostitution, plus immunity from federal prosecution in Florida. I mean, who agreed to give this guy who molested 24 girls immunity from prosecution? I mean, what in the hell kind of deal is that? And that is very, very strange and makes you wonder and shows that this whole thing is a lot deeper than we all think. And no wonder why somebody killed Epstein in his jail cell, because he did not kill himself. There is no way. But anyways, and this just shows too, as in these notes, it says that Epstein was somehow tipped off that authorities were coming to seize his computers, because when the authorities arrived and served the warrant, all the computers were gone. That is no coincidence. So somebody in the higher ups let him know that they were coming. And that just speaks to the connections that Jeffrey Epstein had. Those same connections that got him immunity, and it very well could be. And like I said before, the link for the notes, the rest of the notes, I'm going to put there. And you can read them. I suggest you do. It's very, very interesting. And I just want to move on to some China news real quick, as being reported by the National Pulse that the CCP is constructing nearly 100 labs that are like the Wuhan lab. And although it hasn't been confirmed, but everyone seems to know that COVID-19 came out of the Wuhan lab. And even the ex-CDC director said that likely, based on the evidence, that it did come out of this lab. And let me tell you, he is right. But the CCP announced it's constructing 3 additional level 4 labs and 88. Yes, that's right, 88 level 3 biosafety labs. This announcement on Thursday, along with the CCP enacting a new biosecurity law that fortifies a legal shield and safer operations of biolabs, and the importance of biosecurity as a part of national security. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And a statement from the ministry, honestly, that I find really hard to believe based on their history, but said with the new law in China, it aims to enhance the country's biosciences research level and tackle the prevention and control of potential outbreaks of infectious diseases for animals and plants. Now, we know what they do in these labs. We've seen now with COVID-19 what they were doing in these labs, funded directly by Dr. Fauci and taxpayer monies. It's just unbelievable. And these labs are pretty much the same thing as they were doing in the Wuhan lab. And I don't believe for a second that they're only studying animal and plants, etc. I highly doubt it. And to have a number like that, that is an insane number of labs. And there is no reason that you would need that many labs. And we need a deep investigation as to how COVID-19 came about. I mean, we know China has already got rid of all the evidence in the lab directly. But maybe there is people that know a little more than they are telling Fauci. So somebody needs to be pushed. Somebody needs to be pushed to give us the correct answers and the real, truthful answers of where this virus came from. Because we have the scientific community thinking this comes from a bat. Now, they said they have the genome or whatever, but is it the correct one? Is it the one that they originally had? Because we have these variants coming out, and apparently they're immune to the vaccine, from what I've heard. But either way, we need to know exactly where this virus came from so we can better understand it. We can have better data. We can have better information. And we need this to come to an end. This is enough. Enough is enough of these lockdowns and masks. Now we have Dr. Fauci saying soon we don't have to wear masks. People are vaccinated. I mean, enough is enough. It's crazy. Now, breaking, not too long ago in Minnesota, a National Guard troopsman was targeted in a drive-by shooting, and it may just be coincidence, but this comes hours after Maxine Waters told BLM to be more confrontational amongst others. I couldn't spit it out there. Jesus. And this didn't happen a couple hours ago. I'm sorry. It happened early, 2 a.m. last night. But she is showing the hypocrisy by Twitter for not censoring her and what she was talking about. And here is some video of that. Listen closely.
Reform. And so, yes, I would like to see the bill in Congress pass on police reform, but I know that the right wing, the racists, are opposed to it, and I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I know this: we've got to stay in the street, and we've got to demand justice.
As a black man, despite all of the efforts, I feel like nothing changes. And George Floyd is waking so many people up, yet nothing has happened. Despite the rhetoric, like what needs to happen that's different this year than all the years before?
We're looking for a guilty verdict. We're looking for a guilty verdict, and we're looking to see if all of the talk that took place and has been taking place after they saw what happened to George Floyd, if nothing does not happen, then we know that we've got to not only stay in the street, but we've got to fight for justice. But I am very hopeful, and I hope that we're going to get a verdict that will say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away.
And not just manslaughter, right? I mean...
Oh, no, not manslaughter. No. This is guilty for murder. I don't know whether it's in the first degree, but as far as I'm concerned, it's first degree murder.
Congresswoman, what happens if we do not get what you just told? What should the people do? What should protesters on the street do?
I didn't hear you.
What happens?
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
What do you think about this curfew tonight?
Now, did you hear that at the beginning when she just called people on the right that do not support a police reform bill are racist? So I guess we are all racist now.
Reform. And so, yes, I would like to see the bill in Congress pass on police reform, but I know that the right wing, the racists, are opposed to it, and I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, everyone on the right that do not support a crazy police reform bill that is brought by the radical left are all racist. You know, that makes a lot of sense. And she gets away with this stuff. And she says it clearly after she was asked what protesters should do if there is no guilty verdict, and she clearly says, we need to get more confrontational, and we got to make sure that they know we mean business. But yet, these actions are not condemned by Twitter like it would be with anyone else on the other side. Let's see if this is covered like it would be if it was someone like maybe Governor DeSantis saying that the people who do not support this bill on the left are all racist. I mean, if he said something like that, it would be everywhere. It would already be censored. Mainstream media would be all over it. But you don't see this you don't see that with this situation at all. And by the way, she knows what she is doing. Because she knows what these people will do. We've seen it all of last summer and up until this point. She knows they will riot when you're telling them to take to the streets. She knows they will riot and cause destruction and fight with the police. She knows that. That is incitement. She is inciting them to do violence because we've seen it and we know what they are going to do. But will she face some sort of consequence for this? More than likely she will not, but we'll have to wait and see.